Can I get a hell yeah? Hell yeah. Can I get
What
a
is going
hell
on?
yeah?
Welcome to the 817 podcast. I'm your co-host, EJ Carrion, and me and Jimmy Sweeney today have Mia Moss, the founder of Black Coffee. I'm super excited for this conversation because she's really igniting true potential and opportunity in Eastside Fort Worth. There's a lot of underlining conversations we have in here, from diversity and segregation and separation to access. So an amazing conversation. And this is a 3-part series with other conversations. We had one with Dr. Dixon and Jonathan Morris from the Fort Worth Barbershop. So go over and check those out as well. And please don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks for doing this with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you guys.
Would love kind of an intro to like what Fort Worth kind of means to you and how you see Fort Worth going, just from where it's been a part of your life to now where it's going post 2020 and all the crazy things that's been going on.
I grew up in Fort Worth. I was born in Wichita Falls, but I've been here most of my life. And
Wichita Falls?
And yeah.
What did you go to high school in Wichita? Oh, you didn't. You were born there.
No. I went to school here. I would just go there for the summers.
Okay.
To visit my uncle. But yeah, my mom, she worked at Wichita General Hospital. And so,
I'm Burke,
she had me while
Texas.
she was down there. Oh, yeah?
Yes. I know Wichita Falls is home. I was a military kid, so.
Right.
So the Shepherd Air Force Base
Yeah.
there. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I grew up here. So this is definitely home for me. And, I love it. I've always been, east, on the east side of Fort Worth. And I think from like when I was younger to now, just in where I've lived, there hasn't been much change. I feel like I'm seeing change now, creeping along. It's slowly changing on the east side. And that probably started maybe like I'll say maybe 4 years ago. Just being able to really see change from the Renaissance Project, right where Black Coffee is, and Texas Wesleyan, selling their law school to A&M. And so I feel like we're really starting to see a good positive change. And, they're even going to change more Stop 6, building some modern homes or apartments in that area. And so I feel like we're kind of just now seeing the upside or the upswing of, Fort Worth changing, as opposed to maybe the west side or downtown already being a part of that change.
Yeah, we're both Meadowbrook guys. I've been here since 2016, and EJ's been over here for almost a year now. And so what does that change look like for you?
It looks like more businesses, definitely better homes, better schools. We have the Young Men's Leadership Academy, which is one of the best schools in Fort Worth right now. And my son, he actually starts this year, online, of course.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so it's like we're just seeing a better quality of life now over here. The only thing we're missing, like I said, we're getting more businesses. I think the main thing we're missing is healthier options when it comes to food and, restaurants and things like that. We're missing that healthy aspect. But again, we just got that's still southeast. We got a new YMCA that they built, and the Berry Renaissance area. So I feel like it's like checking every box slowly, but again, we're starting to just see the positive on this side of town.
I'm really, just thrilled and thankful for kind of what Black Coffee has kind of done for East Side and just, Southeast in specific, is Fort Worth. I feel a very segregated place, and I feel Southeast has definitely been kind of a boxed out area. You talked about it from a food desert. I I would argue like the business part. There's also, and what I get inspired when I walk into your coffee shop is you're bringing West Coast people over here, and I think that is West Coast, West Side people over here. Yeah, and so I think I don't know if anyone tells you guys congratulations enough, but I say I almost say a thank you because I think you guys are doing something that's very pivotal to Fort Worth and our growth. And so I guess I would love to know, I'm assuming it with just COVID and then Black Lives Matter and just kind of the George, all of it just kind of happened while you also vision a need over in East Side. But because you guys were kind of prepared for the opportunity, you guys are really curating something special for Fort Worth. So just kind of walk us through, how's that been?
I mean, thank you first off for the compliments. I really appreciate that. And I think for us, when all this was going on, we were fairly new and just starting to really figure out things as far as vendors. We had just, when I talk about healthy options, we had just found someone to give us some vegan options. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and it was like a desert, already in a place that's kind of deserted. And so, we had to go down to 2 days a week. We're just doing Saturdays and Sundays. We lost almost all of our vendors. So again, there were no more healthy options. And we're still trying to figure that out because, everybody's not back up yet. So, that's still something that we're working on. But it was one of those things where I just knew I didn't want to close because I may not open again. And so I wanted to make sure that, I had a couple of days open. I was able to keep my staff, started a virtual tip jar, and really just worked with, my friends and my husband. And Community Frontline is a nonprofit, and just try to do some things. So because again, everybody's not working at this time. So, they were kind enough to help out. And for Mother's Day, they basically just bought all the coffee in the shop for anybody that wanted coffee that day.
Nice.
So not only did they take care of the mothers, but they took care of anybody that came up. So of course it was a benefit to the business, but again, it was still a part of our, core values of being for the community. And so we were still able to, engage with people via curbside, but, just still have them there. And, the fact that I was able to keep my staff really helped because they live in the community also. So, we just kind of kept pushing and kept going and doing what we could just so that we could still be here. And, once, things happened with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, it was, a whole other thing that, we, unfortunately we deal with it all the time, but then, on a larger scale because everyone's home, everyone's seeing it. And, for us, unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's okay, it's happened again. We're kind of used to it, a little numb to it, but the fact that we were quarantined at home, it was one of those things where you don't really have an outlet.
Yeah.
So, with us being able to just open a little bit as we started to open back up, in Texas a little bit, people were able to come out. We had some outside seating, and then again, we were still doing curbside and then a couple of seats inside, but it allowed people to come out. And then people really wanted to support Black businesses. And, what I urged people to do was to support nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
I urged them to just find ways, actually in the community to support. I had 5 or 6 individuals that just wanted to do something. And I was like, school is coming up. We don't know what it's going to look like, but, maybe collecting supplies for students, that's a start.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they collect supplies, but they brought an entire van they rented a van to bring supplies and basically filled up the entire back of the shop.
That's amazing.
With supplies that we could give out. And I'm still giving out supplies now. But it was one of those things of, I just didn't want it to be I didn't want it to be like a pity thing. I wanted people to actually really sit and have conversations, talk to people, understand why, we feel the way we feel, or, whatever the case is, just to really sit, listen, and think, and then say, hey, I want this to be a part of my life, not just a one-time thing. It's not a charity where you give every now and then. It's one of those things where you make it a part of your life. And, that would mean coming from the West Side to get some coffee, or, coming from the West Side to get your hair done, or coming to get a suit on the East Side. It just means stepping outside of your norm and showing people that, yes, Black lives matter, your lives matter, your jobs matter, your businesses matter, the side of town you live on matters.
Yeah.
It's just, I just didn't want it to be like a one-off.
Yeah, I think that's
sense.
awesome. And I feel like it speaks a lot to the vision and the vibe that's just behind Black Coffee. Can you talk a little bit about what your vision is for the shop, whether that's, I'm sure it's different during COVID than what it will be post-COVID, but I would love to hear the vision you have for how Black Coffee can be that conduit of change to help bring people over to this side of town.
Yeah, I feel like, I've always said that coffee is perfect for conversation. Like that's something that gets me out of my shell. I really don't talk a lot, and except to my husband, I wear him out. But coffee makes it easy for me to have conversation. I feel that's, generally like the consensus that everybody feels like, let's meet at a coffee shop and we can talk, and it just makes it a lot easier. So having a coffee shop is about people being able to come and meet, whether it's, I've had people come and have interviews in the coffee shop. I've had people have, we've had NAACP meet there. We just had the yoga event, yesterday. And so I just feel like, I just want to be kind of that in between. Like, everybody can come here, no matter where you're from, no matter what side of town you're from. And, coffee's just going to bring you together. And that's a similarity that we have. Like, we all love coffee. We like tea. We like juices. Like, we do a lot of different things. We have a lot of options, but being in a coffee shop is just that in between, and it allows you to just come together. And so that's the vision for Black Coffee is, the East Side, of course, having a place to call their own, having a spot that they can come to maybe 5 minutes down the street. And then, bringing people from the other side of town so they can see, like, there's really not much of a difference. And the differences that we do have, we can change that because it's usually, from an equality stance. But yeah, we're pretty much the same. Everybody, we're all human. And I feel like once we can get people on this side of town, they can see, like, it's not as bad as you think.
With your mission being to curate conversations and allow, and I totally agree, coffee makes it easy to have conversation. What conversation do you think Fort Worth should be having as a whole? Like, what should we be talking about together?
Well,
regardless of what area of the city you live in.
We definitely should be having conversations about our youth, and probably listening to them more about what they need and what they see. With me having kids, I noticed early on that, they see things that we don't see. They notice it. And kids, will call you out on things when you're wrong. And that's the thing about younger people is you get a different perspective. You'll get an honest perspective. And because we have the age, I say the age kind of, with age, you just forget things. With them, it's fresh, it's new, they remember, and they can, again, show us stuff that we're not seeing. So I think conversation should be surrounded around them and what they need. And in all honesty, I feel like it'll show us kind of what we're missing, because they're more unified than we are. If you think about it, youth are unified.
Totally.
Your sexual orientation doesn't matter, your religion doesn't matter, your color doesn't matter. They just like to be together. They love people. And I think we could learn that from them. So I think involving more young people in politics, in, education, in all aspects would help us just get a fresh take on what's needed.
I think that's a really amazing perspective. Do you have something maybe recently that your kids have pointed out to you that either opened your eyes to something that you were missing or maybe changed a perspective that you had?
So my oldest, he is 10, almost 11, and he is very caring. He's a very loving individual, and he loves to help people. So one thing he does when he comes in the shop is that's what he tries to do. He'll come in, he'll help us. If we need something in the back done, he'll ask me if I need something done. And so I try to think like that just on a daily basis when I'm at the shop, because, I can get so involved in work. And, as much as I love coffee, I have a lot of paperwork and things to do. And so I forget, about, the reason I'm doing it. And so just looking at him and the way he kind of just acts, he reminds me that, you got to slow down and actually pay attention to what somebody needs. Because a lot of times people come in and it's not just coffee. They need conversation just from you. Like you having a conversation with the person at the register could make or break their day. And my youngest, he's very smart. So he makes me realize how advanced kids are. And he always has me thinking of ways I can be more advanced in the coffee shop. When it comes to like technology, he's 4. He can pretty much work anything. Yeah, most kids his age, if you give them a device, they'll figure it out. Yeah, and so he makes me think about technology and where it's going and what that means with coffee, because coffee is moving that way too. And we really had to pivot, with our online options when it came to COVID. So that was something I had to pick up quick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of our youth, the children of Fort Worth, a lot new news in the newspaper and just becoming more of a conversation of just the overall lack of options for our East Fort Worth young people, and, the issue around gang violence and, trying to figure out what to do. And what's really, personally for someone who lives in East Fort Worth, who knows it's a problem and knows that we're underserving our children, but I'm also almost afraid that weirdly Fort Worth has done a good job of keeping it under the rug. And I think if someone travels to Fort Worth, if someone lives in the west side of Fort Worth, they would have no idea what our kids go through on the east side. What would you do? Like, let's say we had the ear of very successful, very wealthy, very influential people in Fort Worth around. What kind of advice would you have around our children on the east side?
I before I opened the coffee shop, I worked at Middle Level, which is an alternative school in Fort Worth. And so I saw a lot of east side kids. And again, I live on the east side. So the main thing was once we got them in the building, most of them, they were good. They just needed someone to show them that they cared, to really believe in them. Like they actually craved the, authority. They craved it. They craved, authority, but in a loving way. So, I would have to get on kids every day, but some of them, they would kind of want me to, they expected me. There was one young man that I would talk to every morning and ask him how his night was, ask him, did he go to sleep on time, and if he came in late, I'm like, why are you late? Like, we don't come in late. And it stuck with him. And then once he left, he would come back and visit. And that's how you know that you've really touched them, is because they want to see you again. And the thing is, I think that if I had someone's ear, I would tell them that, we just need people that are willing to listen to these kids, that are willing to address the issues that they have. But for most of them, the issues are at home, stuff we don't see. They're acting out because there's a need. And it's like, what would you do if that was your kid? I always ask people to step outside of themselves and to, look at it as if it was their child. Like, what would you do if it was your kid that was acting out? You would get them the help they need ASAP. So how can you help? Well, you can get some people, like, if you know any therapists that have some free hours, like, that's perfect. Get them in the schools. If you know someone that has a restaurant that is willing to donate meals to take home, that's perfect, because we would send food home with some of the kids. If you know someone that, owns a laundromat or anything like that, like, it's the necessities that these kids are missing, and that's why they act out. We have kids, they get in fights because somebody's making fun of their clothes or whatever. It's like all the things that you don't have to worry about, these kids worry about on a regular basis. So it's like, if you know someone and you can get them just to come out, once a week or once a month to help alleviate some of the stress that not only the kids have, but the teachers too, then, I would just encourage them to do that. Like, I do know some people, and I'm honest and upfront with them about the East Side and what we need. And I tell them, like, you see a bad kid. I just see a kid whose mom is not at home most of the time, and they have to fend for themselves and their younger siblings. So, by the time they're done being a parent, by the time they get to school, they don't want to hear what you have to say. In their mind, they're grown. So it's like, you see a problem, and it's not what you think. So, yeah, I would just really encourage them to use, their privilege to help these kids.
Yeah, we actually just interviewed Jonathan Morris with the Fort Worth Barbershop, and he kind of talked about what's funny is he said the most, like, he would invest in food in Fort Worth, and how food, if anyone judges a city or how was their experience, they would mention, where they eat and the restaurants that they went into, what they experienced. And so you're really doing that for the East Side, and providing a space that I, personally believe is the most truest place of Fort Worth right now, in the sense of,
wow.
If you want to feel Fort Worth, you go order a cup of coffee at Black Coffee. What would you say is, because we started this podcast because we believe Fort Worth is in this polarization of, right. We're the 13th biggest city, but we're the largest kind of Republican county city, in the country. And so we have what's unique about us. We have a very diverse group of perspectives and views and things like that. But yet, and the future of Fort Worth, like the growth of Fort Worth is in front of us. And so that means we have to bring East Side, Southeast Side, historic South Side, and be a launch pad for it to be a part of that narrative as well. And so what are your thoughts there on, like, how do we bring Fort Worth to be more of a national name to people who are not from Texas?
Wow. I really think that if we embraced the diversity, like really embraced it, not just talked about it every now and then, but really embraced the diversity that we have, that would help out a lot. I think that most of the big cities that we know of, just off the top of my head, if you think about like Miami, it's really diverse. You think about LA, there's so many different parts of LA, and I hear about them all. So I think that's the thing that we're missing, is that we're not embracing every part of Fort Worth.
What do you what do you think that would look like for Fort Worth? Like, how do you think that happens?
I think it's going to take the people in power, kind of stepping outside of their comfort zone, because you don't really see them on the east side or the southeast side. You don't see them. I actually, before COVID happened, I was going to have that opportunity to have an event at the coffee shop and have some major people attend and, talk with the community. And then COVID hit and it was like, we can't do it. So we were on that, on that path, but, I think it's just one of those things. Like we know that some people are still getting out. We know that. We know we're operating at 50% capacity. So we're still able to have events and do that. We've been very, very safe. And I think that those people that are pushing for us to open schools, for us to, go back to normal, whatever that is, they should be the leaders in that, start doing that and going to different parts of town and saying, hey, I'm going to eat here. I'm going to, even if it's to go, I'm going to go and get food from here. I'm going to go and get coffee from here. I'm going to go and take my clothes to this cleaners today. That's on the east side. And, just embracing it just like they embrace, their small part of Fort Worth. But it's going to take those people in power really stepping outside of their comfort zone and people calling them to do so. Because yes, they're in power, but we also know there's power in numbers. So if we're telling them, hey, if you want to be known, because I think we just got like #1 zoo in America.
Yeah.
So, that's big, but then it's like, there's so much more to Fort Worth than like the zoo. Like the people are amazing.
Totally.
On every side of town. And I feel like if we do that, I know Visit Fort Worth has been really pushing that, which is good. But again, if we can get those people in power to do the same thing, then I think it'll be major for us nationally.
Yeah, I even want to really challenge it even more in the sense of I don't just need, as I'm thinking as an entrepreneur and a person of color who also, first generation college kid and all this and that, to me, I look at it as it needs to be an inclusive where it's not, I am going over here and doing it over there I'm going to go do that and spend my money over there. But what's the problem with public schools? You talked about the Leadership Academy, and the reasons why these are the avenues that we're able to go is because Fort Worth public schools over on our side, are not as established as they are on the west side. And
right.
And then also home value goes up when we are not there, the less of us are actually there.
Absolutely.
So to me, it's so much of how do you not just come and, spend money at my cleaners or drink a cup of my coffee. It's how do you actually see that value goes up when I'm your neighbor, and that.
Mm.
And so I'm asking you this with that saying, with all what's going on, I feel like a lot of weird responsibility came on the Black Coffee in the sense of people were like, oh, this is our people. And I don't know if you mentioned how you don't really like talking to people and you're more of an introvert. So I'm wondering has a lot of this kind of people look to you guys as hey, what do you guys think we should do? Or do you feel like you were looking, you were seeking this kind of influence or leadership? Or was it more serendipitous, the Black Lives Matter movement, the young people who are protesting downtown, all these things? Did you feel like you were just thrown that responsibility because you guys were a Black-owned business? Or was that something you were wanting?
Once this happened, I feel like it was kind of thrown, at us. But I felt like it was something that I should be prepared for anyway because of what I'm wanting to do in the area. So I think, it was really strange because it was like, oh, there's a Black-owned coffee shop. we have to go. Like, we have to spend our money here. I received a lot of messages saying we want to support. How can we support? I want to buy your coffee. I want to get a gift card, things like that. And then there was also like, there was even pushback of people almost saying that I wasn't Black owned. Like, this is not a Black owned coffee shop. Don't go here. And so it was one of those things where I had to like step back and be like, you know what? Of course I know who I am. And so that doesn't matter. And I understand, there are people that wanted to support. I understand you want to support, but not only that, like, what else? Because there's, we live here. So what else do you want to do? Like, just coming and getting a cup of coffee, like you said, yeah, that's really not enough. It's really not enough. But again, because coffee is, that middle ground, that's where the conversations come in of people meeting. They might not have come together, but they came for the same reason. They wanted to support a Black-owned business, and then they leave, with each other's phone numbers, talking about different events. I met so many people over the last few months. Tyler, who is over, I think it's what is it? I'm sorry, my husband's right here, so I'm asking. Trinity Pride. Yes, I met Tyler, and he's over Trinity Pride, and he would come and get cold brew, and we ended up talking and connecting, and we were figuring out ways that we could work together. Because again, that's something also that he noticed, and we talked about, is that we don't address or assist the LGBTQ community on the East Side. It's like it's only about the West Side and Pride, but we don't address that over here. So that was something that we talked about, and that just was the theme. Like, I kept getting that where I was talking to other people, people from different areas, and realizing that, hey, this is something that we haven't even talked about, that happens on this side of town. So it really opened doors to have those conversations and to get things started. And that may have been me disconnecting them with someone else, or me taking on and saying, hey, I want to do an event with you here. Next week we're going to do HIV testing. It's just drive-through for people that just want to get a test. And yeah, they'll be set up. They'll give you the test, and then that'll be a drive-through. Because again, that's something that kind of fell off. They said, I talked to a young lady, Jennifer Stardy, and she's the co-founder of Rebirth. And she just was like, the city's no longer funding this. And so we want to get it out there, and we're going to pay for it ourselves. And we just want to use your parking lot. I'm like, that's fine with me. Cool. Because again, we don't want people to fall to the wayside because they don't have insurance or they don't have the means, or, so it's like, all I have to do is just give you a parking lot. Cool. And then it makes it easier for people to just drive through, get what they need, and go.
That's awesome. I feel like you all, maybe before you thought you would, are getting to play a really big role in the community over here, whether it's just connecting people or connecting people to resources. What, like, let's say 2030 version of Black Coffee, you're looking back after 10, 11 years. What would you hope to have accomplished for the community through your shop?
Well, I'm definitely looking to create more jobs. So I'm definitely looking at, a second location further east. I'm thinking roasting facility, and I'm thinking, being in a partnership with a nonprofit in some way that, again, helps our kids and our youth. And whether that's, having a specific coffee blend that donates, the donations go directly to the community and the kids, that would be ideal for me. But yeah, if I can create more jobs and just be a visual vision board for kids to know, like, hey, because you were talking about how you were first, EJ, you were first to graduate college.
Yep.
You know, that kind of was put on my shoulders, and I didn't even do it. I didn't finish college.
Yep.
I went for a long time, and I just didn't finish. But I was still able to do what I love to do. And so I want to
Yep.
be a vision board for kids to know, like, you know, it may not happen the way you think it's supposed to happen, but it can happen.
And I even think, like, speaking of your vision board for children, I feel like there's also this opportunity. And I mean, this is maybe even off the podcast, just us having coffee at Black Coffee and us discussing this, is there's really talented entrepreneurs with talented food ideas or experiences.
Yeah.
You know, I might get this wrong. I remember meeting the lady, AJ Scoops, the vegan ice cream. She does vegan ice cream. I may be saying her name wrong, but she has a food truck, or Compatible Delights, who kind of does their thing in front of Doc's, the bookstore.
Yeah.
And all these experiences that I have, why do they not have a Melt location? Like, this is good. This is, we need this Compatible Delights thing in Fort Worth. It's clear as day that no one's doing this. When you order there, it's good. So how do you feel creating a vision and lifting up other Black entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. I'm actually in the process of trying to find a baker, someone that I can work with that you know, could bake pastries for the shop. I'm in the process of figuring out how to bring Katrina Carpenter in from Carts Catering, and I've met with a few people. It's interesting that you even brought that up. I met with a young lady who came to me with some cheesecakes that she wanted me to taste, and she was like, you know, this may be something that you could offer in the shop. And you know, the first thing I asked her was, where did she make it? And she said, I just made it at home. And I was like, unfortunately, that's something that I can't, you know, sell, because it has to be made in a commercial kitchen. That's something that a lot of people don't know. And a lot of my people don't know. And so I was even talking to my neighbor who wants to invest in a commercial kitchen on the east side to help further businesses. So, you know, the thing is passing on knowledge. And if that's the way that I can help another entrepreneur, then, you know, I'm glad to give it. I talked to a young lady from Shreveport today who wants to open a coffee shop in Shreveport. And I gave her all my contacts and everything that I had, you know, so that she could, you know, start the journey. But I think that if I can help them by maybe offering what they sell in the shop, and it's not, you know, limited to food, retail is also available. And if I could just give them the knowledge to further their business, that would be great.
Yeah. I think this is it's a great opportunity, and really excited how Eastside kind of unfolds in the conversation. So I really appreciate you being on the show with us, and really having conversations with us. And we are going to continue to look forward to being supporters of the shop. And Jimmy, I don't know if you have any last final questions or anything you have.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm sure you get asked about the shop a lot, but we would love to know, is there something that you are passionate about or excited about that's happening in Fort Worth that you don't get to talk about very often that you want people to know about?
Oh, the most exciting thing that's going on right now is the new building that my husband, my sister, and brother are opening. Franklin and Anthony and BSW Beauty Studio and Dig Contracting. They all have their businesses in one building, and they have some co-working spaces as well. But I'm excited about that. I mean, I don't wear suits or anything, not yet, but I do get my hair done every now and then. So I'm like excited to have a quality salon on the east side of Texas. I mean, not Texas, sorry, Fort Worth. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then I'm excited that my son is going to the 6th grade. You know, middle school is a big thing. So that's what I'm focused on right now. And I, you know, even though we do have some inequalities to address in education, I do feel like Fort Worth ISD is really working really hard, and so I'm excited about his journey with Young Men's Leadership Academy, and what they're going to be able to pour into him. So I think that's what I'm really excited about.
That's awesome. We really appreciate your perspective and just the work that you are doing in East Fort Worth. Thank you for continuing to do Curbside. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
And I love the East Side Blend. The first time I got it, just to see East Side Blend on a bag, I don't know. I felt a real sense of ownership. Like, yeah, I feel like this coffee helps represent where I am in Fort Worth. So that in a weird way was a almost prideful moment for me to be like, wow, like look at what East Fort Worth is doing right now. So
Thank you.
We really appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you for saying that. That's the whole point. Yeah. So I'm glad you felt that way. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming on. We look forward to talking to you again soon and seeing you around the shop.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care.
That was Mia Moss with Black Coffee, one of the only Black-owned coffee shops in DFW and representing East Fort Worth. We really appreciate having her on, and we look forward to talking to you again next time.
Ain't no water in the well there. Hell yeah. And we all know it's no fair, but they don't care.